Lieutenant Colonel Thorne gritted on the dusty training field. His vitriol was for me alone. Your career is over, Vaughn. Your focus may be divided, and that could affect your performance in the field. Go home and take care of your kid. My son, my guiding force, was the reason I endured. He made a grave mistake. He forgot that a mother with nothing to lose is the most dangerous. I'm Elena Cross. My age is 36. That Thursday afternoon beneath the harsh Los Angeles sun, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Simple pride. The fragrance of dry heat and newly cut grass permeated Howard Jones Field, USC's famed training site, which I associated with progress. This was my true reality. I belonged here where expertise and effort were valued, and I was appreciated for what I knew, not who I was, what I could instruct. My cadets were in my peripheral vision. They moved confidently and fluidly, unlike 6 months ago when they were frightened, eager faces. Now they were one. They used hand signals, anticipated one another's motions, and operated with precision that made my heart race. They were becoming my leaders. Already planning my 10-year-old son's story, I smiled internally. Noah tonight. He enjoyed hearing about his mother's future troops. The ritual connected my two worlds and helped him comprehend the part of me that wore a uniform and found joy in duty. Pride was fragile and lovely, like a soap bubble sparkling in the harsh sunlight, and it was about to break. Behind me, combat boots crunched the dry earth. I recognized the authoritative rhythm, but this time it had a meaning, strange predatory weight. My body tensed as I turned. Damian Clark and his constant companion, Elena Cross Carter, approached. Thorne postured rigidly, jaw stiff. I wasn't called to his office, a courtesy for minor offenses. It was a show, taking me to a corner of the field, far enough away so the cadets couldn't hear the words but close enough to watch the confrontation and their actions. Battalion leader singles out instructor. It was planned for maximum public humiliation. My 12 years of training kicked in. My back straightened. To survive in a world of men, I changed my face into a neutral mask. Elena Cross, Von Thorne started. His voice sounded chilly and sterile, like a surgeon's before an amputation. Then a vicious hiss targeted for me followed. A core-targeted poison dart. My identity. I've read your contributions. Your focus may be affected by being a single mother. The world paused. Cicadas in neighboring trees buzzing. Los Angeles 110 freeway traffic droning. My breath. Everything stopped. He termed my son my light, my reason for everything a burden. My mind roared in quiet as the word hit me. He continued. Twist the blade. The Army needs 100%. Elena Cross, commit. Not divided-minded. Your tenure ends here. The words appeared like heat haze in the hot, quiet air. An innocent manila packet felt like a tombstone in his hand. A hand trained to be steady under fire trembled slightly when I took it. I flinched at the icy touch of my fingers on his. It didn't need opening. The large red stamp on my officer evaluation report, or cover sheet, burned my eyes. 2 words that killed every ambitious commander. Relief for cause. A knot formed in my throat. Concrete and broken glass knot. I was speechless. I couldn't breathe. I reluctantly looked past Thorne to Elena Cross Carter, who was pretending to watch the horizon behind him. And I saw. It was a strange smile. A smirk. Seeing an opponent he could never beat in a fair fight lose makes a lesser man greasy and self-satisfied. It was the sneer of someone who knew this was coming, had likely poisoned the pot, and was enjoying my public humiliation. One expression told me everything. This was unprofessional. Felt like an unjust removal. Carter's smirk was salt being crushed deep into the wound, while Thor's insult was the sword. I don't recall leaving the field. No memory of the ride home. Suddenly I was in my old Jeep Wrangler in the driveway of my tiny Culver City apartment. Engine off. The California sun scorched the cars inside, making it stuffy. As I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles turned white and hurt. The folder was on the passenger seat. A harmful presence, a life stain. I didn't weep. Too deep a shock. Wound too fresh to cry. Pride was replaced by a chilly, hollow void. Crater from an explosion. I recalled the 2 images. A vicious cycle, Carter's triumphant ugly grin and Thorne's nasty, contemptuous words. How did this happen? What did I do wrong besides my best? Was that my fault all along? In my vehicle, Carter's sneer haunted me, and my thoughts returned. How did this happen? No single horrific moment on the field was the answer. The last 2 years' history began with hope. I recall my first USC ROC day, battalion like yesterday. The Vanguard Battalion coasted. Their Fort Knox National Advanced Camp scores were average. Their spirits fell. They had potential but no spark. My mission was obvious. Develop, inspire, and forge leaders. A modest Culver City apartment was my command center. Topographical charts and training manuals surrounded me several nights after Noah slept. My laptop screen lighting my face. There I was, made the forge. It went beyond training. My philosophy. An intense weekend outdoor exercise that tested the cadets mentally and physically to simulate real-world operations. They learned grit and strategy from me. I gave it my all. Because the standard-provided compasses and night vision gear were antiquated, I bought my own. I drove home after every grueling Saturday at the forge. I prepare a huge pot of 5-bean chili in my flat for hours. I showed them that leaders care for their soldiers. That community is established in the field and over a meal. Seeing their exhausted yet delighted smiles as they ate chili was better than a medal. I wasn't just their teacher. They considered me their mentor, older sister, and sometimes den mother. It works. Vanguard Battalion went from in 2 years, middle of the pack to top 5% of the nation. We were creating distinguished military grads 3 times faster. So proud. After that, Lieutenant Colonel Thorne arrived. He was shielded by his East Coast lineage of decorated officers. He saw the numbers and prestige I had developed, but not a success. An asset caught his eye. He immediately appreciated the forge. His initial move was political and discreet. He kept it running. He rebranded. He introduced Thorne's Crucible, an improved program, to a battalion meeting. One PowerPoint slide wiped my program name and work. He led private mentoring sessions with my best cadets, whom I had raised. He'd sit them down in his pristine office and explain his vision for the battalion, quietly implying that I was just a cog in his machine. The battalion air changed. A calm, watchful tension replaced the open companionship. He mastered corporate warfare in an army uniform. He publicly praised me. Elena Cross-Vaughn is invaluable for hiding my reports and recommendations in bureaucracy. His thievery culminated at the 8th Brigade's annual military ball, hollowing me out. A Marina del Rey hotel hosted a formal night of dress uniforms and polished attire. Beaches. Thorne was supposed to accept the Leader of the Year award that night. My cadets and I won this prize solely on performance criteria. I didn't witness it. I was battalion duty officer that night. A senior Elena Cross babysitting an empty facility is unnecessary and humiliating. I sat alone in the clean workplace. Nothing but the fluorescent lights and a little radio sports game crackle. Around 10 o'clock my phone buzzed. It was text from a loyal sergeant at the occasion. It read, "LTC Thorne just gave his acceptance speech. Ma'am talked about Thorne's Crucible's success. They gave him a standing ovation. He didn't mention your name." I read the message 3 times. A standing ovation for my work, late nights, and chili. I didn't cry. The feeling was colder, emptier. It was the quiet, sickening realization that you can do everything right and still lose. Just stared out the window at the empty parking lot, feeling invisible, like my existence had been written out of my story. You know the feeling of having your hard work, passion, and soul poured into something, only to watch someone else take the spotlight and take the credit. That gut-wrenching moment when you realize your contribution has been completely erased. In the comments with a broken heart emoji. So, we who understand this ache can see that we are not alone. It wasn't just that he stole my work. It was how easily he did it. How could a man built on lies climb so high in an institution supposedly built on honor? That question haunted me and led me down a path I never expected. Annual Ranger Challenge competition was approaching. This wasn't about reports or speeches. It was about grit, sweat, and performance. Politics and favoritism were supposed to burn away, leaving only the best team standing. This was my arena, my last stand. Thorne gave me full authority to select and train the team. "Show me what you've got, Vaughn," he said wittily. Despite my deep suspicion, I selected the best of the best, a team of 10 strong, smart, and hungry cadets. Cadet Miller wasn't the most naturally gifted, but he had heart. I'd spent extra hours tutoring him in land navigation, helping him pass a critical academic exam he was close to failing. I saw his potential and believed in him. Hills around the Roseb until our lungs burned, practiced building a one-rope bridge in the dark, and drilled emergency medical procedures until they were muscle memory. We became a family, bound by exhaustion and a common goal. I saw trust in their eyes and gave them mine. The competition day was hot and tense. We were neck and neck with the UCLA team. I had drilled this with them hundreds of times. They knew it cold. They started across the ravine. The movements were clean, efficient. I felt that familiar swell of pride, and then I saw it. Miller, halfway across the rope, suddenly and awkwardly lost his footing. A manufactured disaster. My blood ran cold. It's a setup. Thorne and Carter appeared at the edge of the course as if on cue. They had been waiting. They always seemed to be waiting. Thorne didn't hesitate. He blew a whistle, stopping the competition. He strode over to our team, his face a mask of feigned outrage. Enough, Elena Cross Vaughn, your negligence is appalling. You pushed these cadets with no regard for their safety. I am officially relieving you of your duties for this event. The public humiliation was a physical blow. I could feel dozens of eyes on me, a mixture of shock, confusion, and fear. But the worst was yet to come, concern. Cadet, tell me the truth. Did Elena Cross Vaughn fail to provide you all with adequate safety instruction for this obstacle? This was the moment of truth. I held my breath, my eyes locked on Miller. I had saved his academic career. I believed in him. He looked up, his eyes darting everywhere but at me. Been a lie. An untruth that felt like betrayal. And in its wake, a devastating silence. The silence of the other 9 team members who knew the truth, who had trained with me, who had sweated and bled alongside me. They stood there, heads down, staring at the dirt. Their silence was louder than Miller's lie. Thorne's venom was absolute. I stood there stripped of my command, honor, and team as the world spun around me. The illusion I had clung to, that merit and hard work would ultimately prevail, was gone, incinerated in the fire of one boy's weakness and another man's ambition. That night, back in my silent apartment, there was no more shock, confusion, or clarity. This was not a misunderstanding. Realizing it sooner, I sat down at my laptop, my fingers moving with a new chilling purpose. I created a new folder on an encrypted external hard drive, named Contingency, and began typing the date, time, and every detail of the day my world was set on fire. The fight was just beginning. The night after the Ranger Challenge disaster was the lowest point I had ever reached, settled deep in my bones. I sat in the dark of my living room, the blinds drawn against the artificial glow of Los Angeles. My laptop screen illuminated the dust motes dancing in the still air. In the next room, my son Noah was asleep, his soft, even breathing a steady rhythm in the oppressive silence. For him, I had to be strong. Ohio and made her a leader, but now it was rejecting me like a foreign body. I typed Project Manager Los Angeles into Indeed.com and scrolled through endless job listings for tech companies in Silicon Beach and logistics firms in Long Beach. Each job description felt alien, written in a corporate language I didn't speak, synergize cross-functional teams, leverage scalable assets. I was about to click on a listing for a mid-level logistics coordinator, a job that felt like a gray, colorless surrender, when my phone buzzed on the coffee table and lit up with an unfamiliar number. Riley, my best friend from officer candidate school, was a spitfire with a laugh that could fill a room and a loyalty as solid as granite. She had wisely transcribed my first instinct to ignore it. Battalion a year ago, sensing the toxic shift in command before I was ready to see it. Riley, what's going on? I sat up straight, a jolt of adrenaline cutting through my despair. Her voice was an anchor to a simpler time. I've been trying to reach you, she said urgently. Don't act foolishly. Avoid resignation. Prevent their win. I answered. It's a little late for that, Riley, laughing bitterly. I believe they've won. In a stern voice, she responded, no, they haven't. Listen, I work at Fort Knox. I work for Brigadier General Alan Pierce, USAC Deputy Commander. My heart jumped. The name of a general officer came from official memos. The words tumbled out as Riley continued. 1,000-mile lifeline. Elena Cross, you're mentioned. Very excellent, not bad. All my university program's performance measures are being reviewed by the general. USC's data from the 2 years before Thorne took control stuck out to him because he loves data. Top-notch graduation rates, military-honored grads, and physical fitness scores. He persisted. Find me the senior military teacher at this time, officer. Riley's voice was triumphant for me. He's heard Thorne rumors. You realize his reports are overly polished. The public trusts numbers, not stories. She paused to absorb it. Her enthusiasm was obvious when he proposed a new pilot program. Development of future leaders. A fresh approach to training our brightest. He's seeking for the proper leader. Lexi, he explicitly inquired about you. He has no idea who Thorne is. He just knows your results. I got results. My heart felt labor. I assumed Thorne's stolen work had vanished, but it had toured the country. It reached a general's desk. Spoke for me when I couldn't. Light broke through my darkness for the first time in months. Warmth was weak and timid, but there. Someone spotted me. I was visible. My work mattered. A chilling doubt arose as I glanced at my phone following the call. Was it real? Was it another career mirage that would vanish as soon as I grabbed for it? Riley's call was a glimmer of hope in the darkness. I finally had hope after what seemed like a lifetime. A weak, cautious hope existed. A stranger texted me the next morning. Elena Cross Vaughn. Hi LTC Thorne. I'd want to discuss your transition over coffee this morning. No treat at Figueroa Starbucks. My heart battered my ribs. My naive side wondered if he had reconsidered. Maybe he felt a little guilty. This could be an olive branch. I entered the busy Starbucks near USC with a glimmer of hope. It was unwise to carry. Already he was sitting at a corner table calm. He wore a pressed polo shirt and cozy to appear disarming. A half-empty cappuccino was before him. I requested black coffee for sharpness. Lexi, he said. His voice oozed synthetic warmth that crawled my skin. Thanks for coming. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I know the recent decisions have been difficult, and I want you to know they weren't made lightly. I had simply sipped coffee. Heat burning my tongue. I let him babble and spin webs. Truthfully, he said, leaning forward conspiratorially. I do this for your benefit. Think about it. A Barstow post. It moves slower. No more late evenings. Weekend field exercises over. Noah has more time and consistent hours. Isn't that what mothers need? A breather. Once again, patronizing assumption and casual misogyny masked as kindly concern. He framed my professional downgrade as a gift. He regarded me as an exhausted single mom who needed to be put out to pasture, not an elite armor officer. A scorching, acidic wave of nausea hit me. Knuckles tightened around my coffee cup. He must have seen my countenance change because his tone became more seductive and devious. If you handle this move well, I'll write you a wonderful recommendation. I'll tell your next commander how valuable you were. I'll take care of you, he smiled. A fatherly, patronizing smile that didn't reach his cold, calculating eyes. This is not an offer, my mind screamed. This is a threat. He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a low, confidential murmur that was somehow more menacing than a shout. Gets ugly. It puts everyone under a microscope. He paused, letting his words sink in, then delivered the final devastating blow. It would be a terrible shame for Noah to see his mother so stressed out. You really want to put him through that? And there it was, the hostage. My son, my beautiful, innocent 10-year-old boy, was now a pawn in his dirty little game, using my greatest love as a weapon against me. In that moment, something inside me snapped. The last flicker of hope, the foolish notion that this man had any decency left, was extinguished forever. I was looking at a person willing to manipulate others to serve his own ends. I remembered something General Patton said, something I'd told my cadets, them what to do and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. Thorne had just told me what he wanted. He wanted me to be silent and disappear. In that moment, I decided to surprise him with my ingenuity. I placed my cup on the table with a quiet, deliberate click. I met his gaze, my eyes unblinking, devoid of the fear he expected to see. Thank you for your concern, Lieutenant Colonel, I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the storm raging within me. I'll consider your offer. I stood up, turned, and left Starbucks without looking back, leaving him with his lukewarm latte and his false sense of victory. When the glass door closed behind me, Cutting off the manufactured chair of the coffee shop, I pulled out my phone, found the one I needed. I pressed the call button. She answered on the second ring. "Riley, Lexi, what's wrong?" "It's me," I said, my voice low and clear. "Set up the call with General Pierce now." I left that Starbucks and into the bright, indifferent California sunlight. The cheerful noise of the coffee shop faded behind me, but the echo of Thorne's threat, the way he tried to manipulate me by referencing my son, resonated in my skull. I didn't go back to my apartment. I drove west toward the ocean, the endless traffic on the I-10 freeway, a blur of motion. I needed space. I needed air that wasn't tainted with his cloying false sincerity. I ended up at Palisades Park in Santa Monica, a strip of green overlooking the vast expanse of the Pacific. Relentless. My father, a Marine Corps gunnery sergeant who had seen combat in Vietnam, said, "Lexi, in a fight, the most dangerous moment is the moment you hesitate." For months I had been hesitating, absorbing the blows, hoping for fairness, waiting for the system to correct itself. But the system wasn't broken. It was being manipulated. Thorne's threat wasn't a sign of his strength. Realization changed everything. I pulled out my phone, my fingers steady, and scrolled past dozens of names until I found the one I needed. I pressed the call button, and she answered on the second ring. "Riley, what's wrong?" Her voice was sharp with concern. "It's me," I said, my voice clear and unshakable. "Set up the call with General Pierce." The secure VTC link Riley sent me connected instantly. Brigadier General Alan Pierce appeared on my screen. He looked exactly like his official photo. Sharp, intelligent eyes, a calm demeanor that exuded authority. "Elena Cross Vaughn," he said, his voice direct. "Maya, Riley tells me it's urgent." I took a breath. In a battlefield update, I detailed the systematic campaign to steal credit for my work, including the renaming of the Forge, the orchestrated sabotage and public humiliation at the Ranger Challenge, and the meeting that morning where Lieutenant Colonel Thorne implicitly threatened my son's well-being to see, unadorned and undeniable. I presented the facts to a superior officer because it was my duty. General Pierce listened without interruption, his expression unreadable. When I finished, the silence stretched for a long moment. I could hear the distant cry of seagulls. "Elena Cross," he finally said, his voice measured. "Your record, Elena Cross, speaks for itself. The data doesn't lie. That's why I wanted to speak with you. The position I have in mind at Fort Knox, leading the Future Leader Development Program, requires an officer of unimpeachable integrity. As of now, it's Lieutenant Colonel Thorne. The obstacle is the way." Thorne wasn't just an obstacle in my career. He was the way to prove what kind of officer I was. "Thank you, General," I said, feeling a cold resolve. But withal, I stood up from the bench as the sun began to set, painting the sky in fiery orange and purple. I looked out at the relentless ocean, took a deep salty breath, and made a vow to myself. I will not just walk away. I will not let him be handled quietly. I will expose what he did, who mistakes his rank for a crown. Have you ever had that moment when all your fear burns away, leaving only your resolve? That moment when you decide you're done being a victim and ready to fight back no matter the cost. So, I know I'm not the only one who storm. Because in that moment, standing under that vast California sky, I was no longer a pawn in Thorne's game. I was his opponent and I was ready to play. My vow on the Santa Monica cliffs was a calculated decision, the result of a mental process I drilled into my cadets 100 times. Utilope, observe, orient, decide, act. After checking on Noah, I turned my small living room into a tactical operations center. The coffee table became my desk, my laptop, and the command console. The promise of a position at Fort Knox was my safety net, but my mission was now about justice, which required evidence. For 48 hours, fueled by black coffee and a cold, burning fire, I searched for evidence. Operation. I went through 3 years of emails, performance reviews, training schedules, and logistics requests. Every document was a potential piece of the puzzle. I bought a new encrypted external hard drive, because my contingency file could not exist on any government system. On it, I created a master timeline, a meticulous log of every instance of sabotage, stolen credit, and lie with dates, times, and cross-references to emails. Principle. A plan is only as good as the intelligence it's based on. My memory wasn't enough. I needed corroboration. I made carefully worded phone calls, not to ask for help but to ask for facts. I called a former supply sergeant now stationed in Texas. I made 2 crucial calls to build my alliances. The first was to Colonel Miller, a retired armor officer who had mentored me as a young lieutenant. I laid out the situation clinically without emotion. He listened, his silence heavy. "Lexi," he said finally, his voice like gravel. "Thorn is a poly. Men like him are cancerous. I'll call." My second call was to schedule a confidential consultation with a JAG Corps lawyer to learn about the battlefield I was about to enter. The female Maya was sharp and pragmatic and advised me on how to file a complaint. People who knew you at Fort Hood need to be aware of what's happening. She advised me to document everything, which I was already doing. In these cases, Elena Cross said, the person with the better paper trail wins. The smoking gun came late on Sunday night, as I was blurry-eyed scrolling through an old archive of administrative emails from Elena Cross Evan. He'd made a mistake. He'd accidentally included me on a reply all to an email chain he thought was private. The subject line was innocuous, weekly update. But as I scrolled down, my blood ran cold. There it was, a clear directive from Thorn to Carter, dated 6 months prior. "Carter, keep a close eye on Van's team. I need you to log any and all unconventional training methods. Had been actively hunting for my perceived mistakes, ready to manufacture them if necessary." But there was more. Thorn wrote an informal, arrogant, and damning email to a friend, another lieutenant colonel at a different post. "Dealing with my ice queen from Ohio," he wrote. "No doubt, but too ambitious for her own good. Some individuals who challenge traditional roles often face unique difficulties. 'Cause issues. About to clean up. Ohio ice queen. Way too ambitious. Woman wanting to be a boy." Words hit the gut. It went beyond work. About my gender. About my ambition. He was threatened by a competent lady who didn't fit his neat traditional box. Not merely a professional disagreement. A deep-seated bias. This one email turned my professional misconduct complaint into a clear case. Discriminatory tale. I needed this weapon. It was awful. It was powerful and infuriating. I password protected and moved the entire email chain to the encrypted storage as a PDF. I slumped back in my chair, feeling my first cold, hard confidence. The emotional storm subsided. Now I was a well-equipped strategist. I had data. There were witnesses. I was advised by lawyers. I had undisputed conspiracy evidence. Completed UTILIP. I saw the threat, gathered information, and made a decision. Time to act. Opening a new email. The addressee was Thorn's commanding officer, Maya General Henderson. The topic, meeting request, urgent command climate and operational integrity issue. Battalion Vanguard. The send button was under my finger. The final step was declaring war. I inhaled and clicked. The video conferencing day comes. Sitting in my modest living room, wearing my class A uniform with ribbons and medals aligned. Not in my apartment anymore. This was my command post. I connected my laptop. Established secure link. I saw the 8th Brigade headquarters clean conference room on television. Maya General Henderson, a stern 2-star general, presided, and Lieutenant Colonel Thorn and Elena Cross Carter looked arrogant and smug in a window from their USC office. Thorn evidently thought this meeting was a formality, fatal blow to my career. He had no idea I packed a hammer. "All right, let's get started," General Henderson said. "Thorn, update me on Vanguard Battalion." Thorn delivered a corporate-style speech with jargon and veiled allegations. He discussed human management issues and restructuring to improve efficiency. Though he never stated my name, every word was directed against me. He described a unit that needed a strong hand to correct a subordinate who was potentially not aligned with the command's strategic vision. Carter sat next to him, nodding earnestly like a bobblehead doll in agreement. While listening to his superb deception, I felt chilly and quiet. Bigger lies fall harder. Finally, General Henderson focused on my small screen window. "We have your Elena Cross Vaughn, or requested cause relief," and Lieutenant Colonel Thorn advised. "Can you add anything before we continue?" The end. Stage set. Special Forces taught me a principle. Smooth slow. Smooth as fast. My steps were purposeful. I adjusted my camera, drank water, and stared at the lens. "Yes, I do, General," I responded clearly. Regarding Lieutenant Colonel Thorn's assessment of the future, I believe it's critical that any decision be based on an accurate understanding of the past. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen. Thorne's face flickered in annoyance, but General Henderson simply said, "Proceed, Elena Cross." "General," I began, my voice like an intelligence officer delivering a mission brief. Column 1 lists key operational events over the last 18 months, including the creation of a high-intensity FTX program in August 2020. The slide was divided into 3 columns. "And finally, General, Column 3, I said, muttering. "The Ranger Challenge event was terminated due to a significant safety failure and lack of instructor oversight." Dropping slightly, "Provide supporting documentation for these events." Clicked my mouse. The first hyperlink opened the original logistics request for the forge, clearly showing my name as the originating officer. Click. The second was Thorne's office's email officially changing the name. Click. The third was the Ranger Challenge team's training schedule, detailing hundreds of hours of safety drills. I opened the final file, the smoking gun, and Lieutenant Colonel Thorne ordered Elena Crosscarter to log any and all unconventional training methods. The goal was to establish a pattern of recklessness. Ranger Challenge was deliberate, not random. I let the image of the email hang there before delivering the final blow. "This, General, is a follow-up email from Lieutenant Colonel Thorne to a colleague at another command. I'll read it verbatim. Dealing with my Ice Queen from Ohio. Cleanup time." End quote. Silence. The only sound was my laptop's faint hum. I watched Thorne's face on the screen. The color had drained from it, leaving a pasty gray mask of pure panic. Carter looked like he was about to be physically sick. He stared at his hands, unable to look at the camera. "Lieutenant Colonel Thorne, Elena Crosscarter, you will remain on this VTC," he commanded. "Elena Cross Vaughn, you are dismissed. We will be in touch." The screen went black. The connection was severed. The battle was over. I clicked end meeting without thinking. The screen went black and my tormentors vanished. In their place was my reflection, pale and weary in the dark monitor. There was no triumphant surge of adrenaline, no fist pump of victory. There was only a profound, hollow silence. The bomb had gone off, and I was standing in the quiet epicenter of the blast. It was the fatigue of a soldier after a long and brutal campaign. I had won, but winning had taken a piece of me. I changed out of my Class A uniform, folding the jacket carefully. The concrete parking garage felt cool and quiet. After the emotional inferno of the meeting, I was halfway to my car. "Vaughn, Lexi," he stammered, his voice cracking. "We can fix this." Misunderstanding, communication breakdown. Staring at him, my face, impassive, felt nothing. A huge, frigid detachment, no anger or pity. He was a relic from my past. "It's not too late," he said, moving closer. "Retract your statement. Inform the General of the overreaction. We're teammates. We're soldiers. Think of my kids and family." He appealed to our soldier parent identity, his final desperate attempt to use duty and compassion that he never showed, to make me responsible for his situation. I finally spoke. My soft voice shattered the stuffy garage air like glass. "Lieutenant Colonel," I said, separating us with his rank. "Let me clarify to avoid confusion." He flinched for the first time when I approached. Power had changed forever. "I said each syllable precisely when you threatened to silence me with my son's name." And chilly. The team concept ended. "I stopped believing in soldiers when you and Elena Crosscarter laughed at my humiliation. When you built your career on my hard work and sacrifice, I lost respect for you and your family." He spoke to make another reason, another pitiful plea. He became silent when I raised my hand. I said, "This conversation is ended. Now and forever. Do not contact me again." So I turned away from him. A final act. I didn't check his reaction. I cared not. I heard my footsteps in the quiet garage as I moved to my Jeep. The sound was someone leaving. A complete chapter of her life, not just a man. There was no joy driving home. Victory seemed like a necessary amputation. You're happy the sickness is gone, but the pain and phantom limb remain. I entered my calm flat. I went to Noah's room first by walking down the small corridor. From the doorway, I watched his chest gently rise and fall as he slept, his face calm under his dinosaur nightlight. It was real. The truth was mine. I fought because of this. Battle noise stopped. Long, peaceful healing was about to begin. A year passed. I left LA. Kentucky's beautiful hills have replaced the scorching sun and concrete development. My Fort Knox, my new home, has fresh, pure air in autumn. I smell damp ground and new beginnings. My title changed too. New name. Promotion fell below zone. A rare honor for Thorne's efforts to eliminate potential. The General Pearson Vision Future Leader Development Program is under my leadership. A wide green training field spreads to the horizon from my workplace. Here I must defend my principles. My job is to make them not a manageable problem. Being the standard bearer. My role is to enhance what's lacking. Integrity-based leadership. Riley sent me a brief email months ago. It stated that LTC Thorne might retire early, effective immediately. Nameless forced retirement. Carter is being reassigned to a dead-end Alaska logistics job. A gradual but definite justice. I was surprised to feel little after reading the email. No triumphant gratification. Just a peaceful conclusion, like shutting a book I'd already read. No longer worried about his fate. I focused on the future, which is brighter than I expected. Though long, my days are full without Thorne's shadow. After work, I drive home. My new home is a little gorgeous white picket fence house I only saw in movies. I pull into the driveway. Afternoon. I notice my son Noah playing football on the lawn with other local kids. Height and shoulders have grown. He glances up as my car arrives and smiles wide before tossing a perfect spiral to his pal. No more missing these moments. Thorne attempted to use the excruciating decision between being a decent officer and a present mother against me, but it was false. I've discovered you can be both. Balance isn't perfect, but it is possible. In a supportive setting, it's doable. I can be Maya Vaughn, a military leader, or Mom, who cooks the best post-game mac and cheese. My personal cell phone rings after supper when I'm helping Noah with his history homework. Number is unknown with California area code. Old fears haunt me before answering. Maya Vaughn. Young feminine voice. Respectful. This is her, I say. Madam, you don't know me. My name is Elena Crossmiller. Sarah Miller. My USC Vanguard Battalion teacher status is new. Catching breath. Miller. For a moment the name chills me. It's an honor to speak with you, ma'am, she says nervously before I register the new first name. Thanks for sharing your story. It's become a legend. Many facts were revealed after the investigation and leadership change. Your actions provided many of us the courage to share our stories. You altered culture. You battled for strangers. So thanks. Shocked, I'm speechless. I thanked her for calling and ended the call. I smile in my peaceful kitchen with the phone in my hand. Genuine smile that reached my eyes. It was then that I understood. The real revenge wasn't Thorne's forced retirement or Carter Arctic move. Not even my promotion or tranquil new life. Real victory, lasting revenge was this. I received a call from an unknown young Elena Cross. Know that my fight saved me and made the world safer and more noble for future generations. My struggle became a light. Pain was mine, made into a shield. The best retribution is not being like your enemy. Build a world where your enemy cannot thrive. I remember my mother quoting the Bible as I struggled. We know that God works for his lovers in all things. I couldn't see the positive in this for a while. Finally, standing in my quiet Kentucky house with my son safe and my honor restored, I do. The obstacle becomes the path. My peaceful Kentucky morning for narrative. But I realize many of you may just be starting your fight. You may be in the middle of it. Everyone faces challenges and those who strive to determine their worth. I learned that true strength is acting despite fear on this voyage. I want to build a strong community here. Please share a lesson you learned from your struggles in the comments. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe to our channel for more resilience tales that remind us we are not alone. Share this with someone who needs to hear their fight is worthwhile. Thanks for listening.